Hey reefers, welcome back to the channel. Today let's talk about coral trade names and why they are and aren't important to the hobby. But first, I have to do my weekly maintenance and let's get to dosing some coral snow. So I'm not going to get into too much detail on coral snow. I do have a video uploaded on my channel. So if you want more details on how, why, and all the steps I do to dose coral snow, feel free to check it out. So let's get into the discussion topic for today's video. Why is it important not to have trade names for corals and why it is important? So when I first started reefing, trade names and all that never mattered to me. I just bought the corals I liked, put them in my tank, and enjoyed it. Remember, this is your hobby. Reef however you want. Spend the money on corals or whatever, how you like, because at the end of the day, this is your tank. So a lot of reefers out there hate the trade name. Why? Because with a trade name attached to a coral usually means high price. And that's true. A lot of trade name corals have high prices on them, but that doesn't mean you have to buy it. They can sell their corals for whatever they want. That's their decision, that's their choice. You don't have to buy it. But if you really think about it, with the high price tag on certain corals, it really attracts a small amount of collectors out there that must have that piece in their tank. The only thing I see negative about having trade names to a coral or attached to a coral is basically price. But you also have to remember these guys that are doing this, they have a lot of overhead, employees to pay, systems to run, corals to feed. So before you start hating or judging a certain company just because their coral is super high in price, just remember why they have that name. And two, you don't have to buy that coral. Leave it alone. Wait for it to come into the open market cheaper from other reefers. So if you know any other negatives about why trade names suck, leave it in the comments and let's have a discussion. So let's get into why I feel trade names are important to me now after reefing for a while. Like I said, at the beginning of my journey, I never cared about trade names or anything like that. Bought the corals I liked, that was it. There's going to be a lot of reasons why I'm pro coral trade names. First one is so you know what you have in your tank. So when something has a trade name, like for example, a PC rainbow. You know what a PC rainbow is, but a lot of people out there new to the hobby don't. So what you do is, you're buying a PC rainbow, you can Google it and see what the coral's gonna look like in the future. And that's one positive about having a trade name for a coral, because you can go online, search that coral up to see how it's going to look as a mother colony versus how it does as a frag. Because if you've been reefing for a while, when it comes to acropora frags, sometimes, maybe more than 75% of the time, the frags look nothing like the mother colony. It takes time for them to heal and adjust, and eventually get the colors of the mother colony. And this actually gets me to number two. So you don't buy the same corals twice. I've had that happen so many times. Bought a coral, didn't ask the trade name, put it in my tank, couple weeks, months, whatever time passes by, corals look identical to what I already have. And that's my mistake for not doing my due diligence and asking the seller, what is this coral? And to me, that is the number one reason why I feel trade names are important. You don't want to buy the same corals. To be honest, I have bought the same corals multiple times. Not because it was a mistake, it's because I want that species from different reefers. If that makes any sense. I want to see how certain corals from different reefers out there grow in my tank. And then when you get way deeper into the hobby of collecting corals, you run into other reefers out there that you can do trades with. And if you don't know the names of the corals you have, most likely they're not going to be interested in it. And that sucks because, like I said, they should buy it or trade for it based on the coloration and that they like it. But again, the longer you reef, the more you get into Acropora. Trade names very important, especially when you're trying to trade with other reefers. But then again, you can also run into different vendors, different trade names, but the exact same coral. That's just something that just happens in the hobby. It's not like it's done on purpose where I'm buying a home wrecker and trying to give it a different name based on my company, which I don't have a company. But the point I'm trying to make is, yes, some vendors have the same corals and have different trade names. And another reason or issue that I run into lately when trading corals without a trade name is like having to describe the coloration to them. You know, like, oh, this is a purple with blue tip and yellow polyps. I mean, what kind of is that? You know, like what is that? It's a lot easier if that certain coral had a trade name, right? Instead of just having to give detailed descriptions on what species it is, the coloration, the polyps, etc., etc. It's a lot easier just to say the home wrecker or the Walt Disney. And do I agree with having a trade name means having a high price tag? No, I mean, I don't really agree with that at all. But like I said, sometimes you have to dig deeper and see why it's that price. Especially, for example, if you're buying or trading with a local reefer that he probably spent $500 on that frag, grew it out, and he's trying to recoup his money. So you can understand why he's charging what he's charging. And I know for 100% fact that locals that grow this coral or certain corals will not charge the same exact price as these other high-end vendors. But they do charge a price, don't get me wrong. But you just have to be patient and keep looking for the coral that you want. You don't have to spend hundreds and thousands on a coral just because of the trade name. Yes, a trade name makes the coral, or usually a coral with a trade name, really has vibrant colors. It's like, it's just a nice piece to have to your collection. But just be patient like I have. I didn't go all out and just buy corals that I don't have money like that. Instead, I wait for auctions online. An example, TCK. They have great auctions. You can get steals if you're bidding on the right day. Sometimes you're going to overpay, but it's still less than what the coral goes for in retail value. Okay, so I mean, I'm pretty sure there's a lot more reasons. I'm just not thinking of it at the moment while recording this video. But just, it's your reef tank at the end of the day. Do what you have to do. If something is overpriced, don't buy it. You find a deal on it, buy it. It's your choice. It's your reef tank. It's your decision. Okay, so let's talk about something else here. So I no longer have frag racks on the front of my glass. I really hate frag racks. They're only on my tank for maybe 2 weeks. After getting new corals in, I'm going to put them on the frag rack and inspect them before I make a decision to permanently place them in my tank. But as you can see here, my tank is really full. I have nowhere to put any corals, but I still want to collect more. And in the past 5 weeks, I've met 4 local reefers that were willing to trade with me when it came to corals, and mostly Acropora. You know, they were on Facebook group for the saltwater community here in Denver, Colorado. They had corals for sale that I was interested in. Messaged them. We got to talking and started geeking out over corals. And then we came to a deal where we'll just trade the corals, you know? I told them I have a pretty good collection of corals here. I don't know all the trade names, which, like I said, it sucks because it would be better if I did. But they're more than welcome to cut any frags in my system of any coral that they want, as long as it's fraggable. And that was pretty fun for me. Never done that before. Like I said, I just started doing that recently in the past 5 weeks. Saved me a lot of money, got a lot of pieces that I really wanted to add to my collection. So how did I remove my frag racks from my system? First thing I did was on the left side there where you saw earlier in the video, I just super glued, puttied the frag rack to the overflow box. Did a par measurement and it was the same par as they were getting when they were on the front glass, so it should be good for them. Now, and I also made enough room just for me to clean the glass with my scraper. And overall, so far, I'm really happy that I decided to do that and glue the frag rack onto the overflow box right there. And when it comes to me getting new corals, first thing first, I always try to find a spot for them on my rockscape to make sure, you know, I have space for them. But this past 5 weeks been going so great, I actually accumulated over 20 different frags from locals, so I'm really happy about that. But the second thing I usually do is, if I can't find space on my rockscape, I usually find a space on my rockscape to add another rock, if that makes any sense. Probably doesn't make any sense, but here, let me get to the area where I actually added another rockscape to my existing rockscape. Damn, it just starts to sound repetitive. But you can see here, I had that green Pavona potato chip coral growing really, really fast. So I figured, you know, instead of breaking that coral off, I'm going to use it as a shelf to hold this flat rock in place. And then I puttied and super glued the back of the rock just to attach it to the existing rock work. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I know it's going to shade out and kill the coral below it, but you can see the coral's pretty big. It'll be fine. Don't need crazy amounts of it.